Hi everyone, this is Ozan from the Brutally Honest Mentor. So I just want to give you a little bit of a context probably most of you are wondering about, which is why Silicon Valley? What should I do to go to Silicon Valley? Oh, what are the why are there so many startups in Silicon Valley? What the heck is this place? So I had the pleasure, and the pain, living there for more than 3 years. And I had a first-hand experience to share with you. But before that experience, I just want to kind of give you a context. I read a lot. I try to watch and read if I'm curious about something. Now, a lot of the AI tools was helping me figure things out more interesting ways. But even before that, just going back to traditional ways of learning, reading books and talking to people. Just want to give you the context and the kind of history. It might be a little long, and we'll refer to a lot of resources in the video, but I think you'll understand this concept and you might appreciate and you might be a little more curious in figuring out this magical place of Silicon Valley. So it starts in the 1800s, believe it or not, with a very unique element, which is gold. So gold was first discovered in the West Coast, completely coincidentally, by people trying to build a water mill, and a carpenter trying to build a water mill finds this gold nugget in a river. They try to keep it hush-hush, but it doesn't work that way, of course. And all of a sudden, everybody starts getting this gold craze. You might be wondering how many people got rich from gold, and you'll be very surprised to know many people got rich from the gold rush that started with the discovery of gold in Sierra Mountains and then in the rest of California. And a lot of people got rich not from the gold, but from things, from selling things to people who are coming and digging gold. One example is Levi Strauss. Probably you might even be wearing one of his jeans now. He became rich by selling people durable things to wear while they're on the hunt and the rush for gold. A lot of people got rich who are building new technologies for excavating gold or excavating the river and figuring out ways to make more efficient ways to explore for gold. They got rich. And the famous story is one newspaper was published during that period, and the person who published the newspaper, who found out these little kids in the streets of San Francisco to go out and yell and scream about this new discovery of gold, is the person who bought all the shovels, all the gold digging material before he let that news out. So the person who sold gold, who sold shovels became more rich than the people who went out and tried to find gold. But long story short, the reason why there is this different culture in California, in Silicon Valley, especially in that region, has a history going back to that period where so many new cultures from China, from Europe, from the rest of the America, from Latin America, so many people from different cultures got the gold fever and went to the region. This hot pot of people coming with different culture is still a very important part of the ethos and the ecosystem in Silicon Valley. So different cultures, accepting different cultures is an important aspect of being in Silicon Valley and why Silicon Valley became Silicon Valley. Another important thing to understand on this period is, and why it kind of embeds itself into the DNA of the culture, is feeling afraid of being failure. Gold digging is a business of failures. You go to one place, you get a lot of resources, you dig. If you can find it, great. If not, you can't just leave and go somewhere else. You just have all the equipment. You have to go and try it somewhere else. You have to go and assemble the whole thing again to try it again and try it again and try it again, try it again. So this understanding of failures in a different lens, understanding failures or accepting failures is an attempt to learn more things, to try more, is an integral part of the DNA. Like fail and fail again until you succeed. That's even in one of the programs in the ethos of one of the programs I joined in Silicon Valley when I first got there. So 2 parts of the DNA, a lot of interracial, intercultural integration, and the fear of failure being observed in a different way. So those are the 2 fundamental things. Moving forward is this feeling and this culture of giving back. When Stanford, for example, one of the richest people in the Bay Area, who had the opportunity to bridge the whole US continent through railways, had the misfortune of losing a child. Like Leland Stanford is the name of the person who became one of the richest people in that area, but Junior Leland Stanford have died in a trip they took as a family to Europe. So Leland Stanford Jr. dies, and Leland Stanford Sr. donates a huge land in honor of his son, a late son, and that place becomes Silicon Valley. That place becomes the heart of Silicon Valley in Stanford University. So the name of the university is actually Leland Jr. Stanford University. Junior Leland Stanford University, actually, sorry. So what happens in that is it becomes an integral part of the Silicon Valley culture, where a lot of things, a lot of bright ideas, a lot of individuals who are trying to find new ground and new technologies come, and Stanford plays a key role in that environment. And one of the things that Stanford played as a key role is during the World War II. Moving on to that era between 1940 and 1950s, it becomes a hotbed of innovation, especially in communications technology. Starting from Harvard, moving on to Silicon Valley to Stanford, people have played, academics played an enormously important role in getting a new level of technology, communications technology, into the Bay Area. And the university starts playing a big role in advocating for new technologies to be applied in the outside world. So a lot of military technologies that was developed in Stanford, in Harvard, in other universities in the US starts being implemented. One of them becomes the silicon, the chips. That's why it's called Silicon Valley. So a lot of companies like Intel rode on the waves of these academically driven, militarily driven new technologies, and then they become part of this larger ecosystem. They create this ecosystem. Semiconductor industry becomes a very important part of the Silicon Valley, hence the name Silicon. And the semiconductor industry leaders who had been named as a treacherous aide because they left the company they were working in, and they created this, the trunks of the Silicon Valley tree. From Intel came a lot of new innovation. From Intel and other companies around that came a lot of investors who understood what it takes to create a technology environment. And those people are now the foundation of the culture. Giving back is in the DNA of the ecosystem. You can get a meeting with almost anyone if they're introduced to you through a friend, because everybody had gone through this journey. So you can get a 10-minute meeting with a lot of people if you have the right networks and right connections. And networking is also a key part of Silicon Valley culture, where people are very open to new ideas. They're open to meeting new people. They're open to meeting new cultures. Even in a small place, geographically, San Francisco, almost every cuisine exists because there's so many people come from so many different cultures. So understanding failure, looking into failure with different lenses, appreciating different cultures, working with different cultures, giving back, helping others to succeed as many people help them to succeed are the key parts of the different elements of Silicon Valley. Having universities like Stanford and UC Berkeley, having a constant flux of students and bright minds has been a very important key. Coming into funding, being in the center of venture capital industry as early as 60s has created a lot of wealth And that wealth is being now transferred from generation to generation in form of new funding to startups. And as they succeed, new generations of startups come through, and it just perpetuates. There are reasons why many other countries have tried to mimic Silicon Valley, but it's going to be very difficult for most of these because the history is hugely important in the creation of the ecosystem itself. So countries, emerging countries trying to mimic Silicon Valley should understand this culture. And as founders, you also need to understand this culture of giving back, giving first, then asking for help, understanding diversity, and being in part of a very thriving ecosystem is very important. It's sometimes feel dystopian when you have so many richness, but also half of the city sometimes is in ruins, and you see poverty firsthand when you're walking the streets of San Francisco. That has always troubled me the most. So as founders who are dreaming of Silicon Valley as this holy grail of startup ecosystem, yeah, you have a point. There are a lot of VCs, there are a lot of founders you can learn from, but also prepare yourself for a conflict in the human nature and how the city and Bay Area is governed as well. So you might be feeling a little stressed if you're not ready for that kind of ecosystem and living as well. So I wouldn't say it was the best place I lived, but I would say definitely was the best place I learned, the place I learned the most from. So founders who are looking to get into the culture, get into the city, and try to spend some time there in Palo Alto or in Mountain View or other places. I lived in San Mateo for a very long time. I love that environment. There are different places for different tastes. So Silicon Valley is not just one place. It's a mash of an ecosystem, you can say. So study, watch videos, try to understand the culture that you want to get yourself into. I would say living there for 3 months will be beneficial for many startups, and it will give them this experience. I think it's a valuable experience, but prepare yourself before going there. So, long story short, if you have any questions about how you can start planning your living in San Francisco, or what are the things you should be careful about, what are the things you should be hopeful about, just ping us. Let us know in the comment side. Let us know if there's anything you can do, we can do to help you out, and then we'll work through it. We're happy to help, and then we'll see you in our next video. See you around.